From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the News 8 Daily 8 Podcast, a Wish TV News 8 update.
Hi, this is Hannah Mordeau, and this is your News 8 Daily for Tuesday, February 24th. It is cold outside again, but not nearly as chilly as yesterday. The high today will be around 41 degrees. We're going to be cloudy, breezy, and cold. The good news is we gradually get warmer as the week goes on. Listen, we're lucky we're not in the East Coast. They have had a blizzard, severe winter weather out there is impacting flights here in Indiana. So far, there are 4 delays and 32 cancellations at the Indianapolis airport. Most of those canceled flights are to Newark, LaGuardia, and Boston. We'll have updates on flight delays and cancellations throughout the morning on Wish TV. Happening today at the State House. Today is the deadline for bills to get through either the House or Senate in order to stay alive before the session ends this week. Starting at 10 this morning, the State Senate will consider several bills. Among them is House Bill 1001. Supporters say it will help the state's housing shortage, though critics say it would take away local government control of things like parking and safety of housing. Another big vote is House Bill 1423. It would create a new entity to govern schools in Indianapolis and take power away from the elected IPS board. The Senate will also decide whether to go along with the House changes to Senate Bill 76. It would mandate more state and local cooperation with federal immigration authorities. Over in the House, lawmakers are set to vote on a bill that would create the group that would develop a new stadium for the Chicago Bears in Hammond. They're also set to vote on Senate Bill 78. It would ban all student cell phone use in schools. And Senate Bill 285 is still in the mix. It is legislature's latest attempt to make camping or sleeping on public property illegal. Critics, though, call that bill an effort to criminalize homelessness. New on Daybreak, the House has approved its version of new rules that tighten eligibility requirements for SNAP, food assistance, and Medicaid programs. Senate Bill 1 is a top priority for the Republican supermajority, which says that the state can't afford the rising costs of the benefit programs. Democrats and a handful of Republicans criticize the changes, saying it will lead to more people going hungry or losing health care. The House made minor changes to the bill, so it now goes back to the Senate. State Senate has also passed a bill that could crack down on some immigrants who have commercial driver's licenses here in Indiana. Senate amended House Bill 1200 yesterday to allow the BMV to revoke a CDL if the federal government suspects a driver is in the country illegally. The bill now goes back to the House for a vote on the Senate changes. The measure comes after police arrested a truck driver for a crash that killed 4 people in Jay County earlier this month. Federal officials say that he came from Kazakhstan and is now in ICE custody. Happening tonight, President Trump is set to deliver his State of the Union. It comes as polls show a majority of Americans do not think the country is moving in the right direction. The White House says Trump will talk about his immigration crackdown, cuts to the federal government, and tariffs, despite a Supreme Court ruling against them last week. Several Democratic lawmakers say they plan to boycott the State of the Union and hold competing events. The State of the Union is set for 9 p.m. We will have live coverage on the speech here on Wish TV and WishTV.com. An Indiana National Guard member is going to the State of the Union address. Republican U.S. Representative Jefferson Shreve says he's taking First Lieutenant Catherine Quarcelino. She is going as his guest. He made that announcement yesterday. She serves as a platoon leader with an engineer company in Franklin and is also a platoon leader in Washington, D.C. Friends and family of fallen Beech Grove police officer Brian Elliott said their goodbyes yesterday. We covered his funeral and procession live on Wish TV. News 8's Malia Van Ostrin was in Beech Grove for Officer Elliott's final farewell.
Hundreds of squad cars from departments across Indiana filled the parking lot as people came to Beech Grove High School to honor the fallen officer's life. Inside, people remembered a man who built his life around service. Beech Grove Mayor James Kaufman delivered one of the 3 eulogies at the funeral, sharing that Elliott was the first officer he swore in as mayor.
April 8th, 2024 was a big day for the city of Beech Grove. Not only was this the day of the total eclipse, it was Brian Elliott's first day as a Beech Grove police officer. It was all hands on deck, and every Beech Grove police officer was working that day. even the new guy.
Outside of law enforcement, friends say he loved riding motorcycles and served as vice president of the Circle City Cigar Club. His motorcycle trophies, a hat of his favorite band Metallica, and other mementos were on display in the lobby outside of the gym where his funeral was held. His best friend Joshua Schrum said Elliott was the type of person who always left a lasting impression.
No spotlight, no applause, just steady, solid, there. Elliott didn't just serve a community, he built one.
Elliott studied criminal justice at IUPUI before working with Eskenazi Police and Marion County Sheriff's Office, and ultimately the Beech Grove Police Department.
Was Brian so much more than a police officer? Absolutely. However, the man Brian was, outside of work, was on full display the night in his role as a police officer. Officer Brian Elliott was the best of the best, and that is why he was a Beech Grove police officer. The question remains, how do we try and prevent this from occurring in the future?
Chief Maurice says it's time departments have a conversation about criminal justice reform and youth violence. He said the department is still hurting, but the community support and words of encouragement has meant a lot. Officer Elliott leaves behind a wife who he married in 2023. I'm Aaliyah Van Ostrand for Wish TV and WishTV.com.
Following the funeral, a procession moved through Beech Grove to Officer Elliott's final resting place. News 8's Garrett Bergquist was at Crown Hill Cemetery for the graveside service.
Police from all over Indiana and even outside of the state accompanied Elliott to Crown Hill Cemetery. It took quite some time for the procession to file past the gates. It was led by pipes and drums and a riderless horse. I saw numerous state and local agencies from all over Indiana. I also saw vehicles from the Chicago and Milwaukee and Charleston, West Virginia police departments. Elliott was buried in the Heroes of Public Safety section. He was laid to rest among police officers and firefighters who have given their lives in the line of duty. There were no speakers at the graveside service. It did feature the American flag being folded and presented to Officer Elliott's family. A retired corrections officer from Ohio watched just outside the gates as the procession went past. He told me what a place like Crown Hill means for those who work in public safety.
I think with the family being able to drive past here into Crown Hill and see people standing and supporting them, I think that would be heartwarming for them, and just to show the support and know that they are not alone. You know, we're here to pray for them and be here for them.
Following the firing party and the playing of taps, officers filed past the casket and laid carnations on the lid. Those are all long-established traditions among law enforcement. Beech Grove police say in lieu of flowers, Officer Elliott's family asks that you make a donation to Pepper's Pet Pals Cat Rescue. At Crown Hill Cemetery, I'm Garrett Bergquist for Wish TV and WishTV.com.
There's so much more to share of Officer Elliott's final goodbye. To see the emotional 1042 call and coverage from the funeral services, plus ways to donate to his family through the Brian Elliott Memorial Fund, just go to WishTV.com and find the As Seen On section on our website, and you can see more there. The Mexican Defense Secretary said that Sunday's Mexican Special Forces operation, which included U.S. intelligence information, ended with Special Forces finding El Mencho hidden underground in his home in the state of Jalisco. After several shootouts, 8 gunmen were killed, El Mencho was killed, and 2 of his bodyguards were wounded. In all, more than 70 people were killed in the operation and the violence that followed, including security forces, suspected cartel members, and others. The U.S. Embassy in Mexico has urged Americans to shelter in place in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. One Midwest couple is there right now, and they say it is a tense situation. News 8's Jaden Reeves spoke with them.
I spoke with Roseanne and Tom Lava, who say this all started unfolding at about 9 a.m. on Sunday during their morning walk, and that's when they started seeing fires in the air filled with black smoke.
This is right outside our place. Bombs going off all over Puerto Vallarta right now.
A very nice gentleman came and told us, hey, you don't want to go north because the cartel has been retaliating against the government.
They told me that local police cars were filled with men holding machine guns. They say the sirens and speakers were blaring for people to get to safety.
So what we found was these fires were becoming set in huge numbers all over the city. Now you could look up and see in the sky yesterday, there was black funnels just everywhere. It was peppered.
Roseanne says they believe the cartel was lighting vehicles on fire to create street barricades to stop local police, allowing the cartel's motorcycles to zip through.
A gentleman on a motorcycle with a woman approached this bus with guns and a gun and started to throw some spikes into the road, took the keys from the bus driver and moved the bus so that it was at a 45-degree parallel in the roadway to block any traffic. And they did start the other bus only about 50, 60 feet away on fire.
They say the ownership of the neighborhood they live in has been in constant communication with the residents and has put their residents under complete lockdown. Tom says they check for updates every hour.
Besides the roads, they're blocking the roads with burned vehicles, but they're burning down what they call the OXXO, is like the convenience store. And so they're taking away the ability for people to go and get their food, water, whatever.
Other friends and family had just arrived to join the Lavas on their vacation.
And the plane arrived, sat on the tarmac. The baggage was unloaded. Shortly after the baggage was reloaded, the plane was refueled, and it was sent back to the Midwest.
The Lavas say that they don't know exactly when this uncertainty will end, but they plan to wait it out. We will keep you updated on the situation in Mexico as we continue to learn more. I'm Jaden Reeves for Wish TV and WishTV.com.
New on Daybreak, CNN is reporting that the masked person seen at Nancy Guthrie's doorbell camera was also at her doorstep on a different night. We have pictures on WishTV.com of the footage. The FBI says it shows the suspect. CNN says the photos and video of the masked person were taken 2 different days rather than just February 1st, the day that police say Guthrie was abducted. In a statement, the Pima County Sheriff's Department says there's no date or timestamp associated with the images, and any suggestion that the photographs were taken on different days is purely speculative. New on Daybreak, ESPN is reporting that the WNBA has set a March 10th deadline for a new collective bargaining agreement with players. The league says the deal needs to be in place by 2 weeks from today in order to avoid an impact on the upcoming regular season. ESPN says the league gave the deadline to the players' union yesterday morning. Players are asking for a larger share of the league's rapidly growing revenue and for teams to provide better housing for players during the season. If the two sides reach a deal, the WNBA's regular season is set to tip off in May. College basketball now, IU is bringing back one of its own for a top job with the men's program. Head coach Darren DeVries announced yesterday that Ryan Carr is joining IU as the executive director of basketball. Carr was a men's basketball manager while he was an IU student in the 1990s. He has more than 2 decades of NBA front office experience with the Indiana Pacers, rising from regional scout to senior vice president of player personnel. DeVries says Carr's role with the Hoosiers will focus on roster building. We are 89 days from the Indianapolis 500, and we're just 5 days away from the green flag for the IndyCar season on the streets of St. Pete in Florida. Alex Palou won the race in St. Pete last year. It started his dominant 2025 season that had 8 checkered flags, including the Indianapolis 500. Another driver to watch is Mick Schumacher, coming over from Formula One. He is the son of acclaimed F1 driver Michael Schumacher, and he says his transition to Rahal Letterman Racing has been smooth so far.
Yeah, I mean, it felt comfortable straight away. We got in contact, and the team was very, very excited to host me for that first test. And then, I felt very comfortable and felt very like a family-orientated business and a team.
IndyCar's Grand Prix of St. Petersburg is on Sunday. The green flag is scheduled to drop at 12:30 p.m. This has been your News 8 Daily from Wish TV. I'm Hannah Mordeau. Watch us on Wish TV and WishTV.com.
This is the News 8 Daily 8 podcast, a Wish TV News 8 update on demand. For even more, on demand and on the go. Connect with Wish TV on Facebook at WishTV.com and on the free Wish TV mobile app. Thank you for listening. And be sure to like, subscribe, and follow this podcast for updates every weekday morning on the All Indiana Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcast.
With so many options, Why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 350 plus undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.